Hello and welcome to askLRR, the series where you ask and we lure. Today's show is brought to you, of course, by patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Thank you so much to all of our supporters there. We couldn't do any of the things we do without you. And this show in particular is also brought to you by the YouTube members. YouTube members, thank you for supplying the questions for this and every episode of askLRR and your continued financial support as well. We really like that. Today on the show, we've got Cameron.
Huh?
And Ian.
And your boy.
And Nelson. Probably. What's our first question, Paul? Yes. 3188 Rocker says, I truly love the elegant madness of Ian, the sophisticated complexity of Cameron, and the idealistic simplicity of Wheeler. Your minds are one of the most curious things I have seen on the internet, and I wish to inquire if you truly let your mind off its leash, what creation would come forth from it? Will it be a beauty or self-destructive spiral? And I'd like to take this one by saying, hi, Mimi Nelson. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. We've got the Costco Kirkland brand Wheeler to answer this question with, yeah, absolutely. If my mind were let loose, it would indeed, to me, seem beautiful for a solid 13 to 17 seconds before it was very clear to everyone, myself included, that this was the beginning of a self-destructive spiral. I think a lot of creatives kind of hold the balance between pure imaginative potential and fully destroying all of their relationships that keep them afloat and fed and continuing to drink water and all the other good things.
It's really just a race at that point, is what you're saying. Is if you let yourself become unleashed, you have to finish the project before you get to the stage of alienation and destitution. And then once you've released it, then that's what makes you an auteur.
I feel that if I was ever let off the leash, i.e. given, I don't know, kind of a blank check in order to pursue whatever creative endeavors I had going around up here, you would need to hold me down and put a gun to my head in order to get me to do anything at all. Because, I have a lot of big ideas about things. And then when I'm actually told, that sounds like a good idea, Cameron, what do you need? I'm like, no, don't make me. The idea of being held to account to deliver on a single thing that I have, just said out loud, unprompted, is frankly horrifying.
Thinking about this through, I'm immediately paralyzed, because it's one thing to be, a director of photography. It's one thing to be a script writer. It's one thing to be an actor. It's another thing entirely to be all of those things and also the producer who has to make sure that they get done.
Yeah.
And, I'm at the stage in my life where I like doing the things that I have the opportunity to do. But if I need to force an entire project through to completion, it's probably not going to happen, and everyone's going to feel very sad.
Yeah. I'll give you a great pilot episode. And then I just want to wash my hands of it because I got nothing in the tank after that. I'm an ideas man.
I'll just say I'm a collaborator. Please help, please.
I like the idea of the pilot that Cameron wrote, and then everyone knows that Cameron wrote it, and then the rest of the series, they're just like poo-pooing the whole time. But it got like greenlit for 3 seasons or something off the incredible pilot.
Yeah, and people just spend the rest of the series going like, oh, I wonder what the mystery is. I wonder what's going on here. And I'm like, there's nothing going on here. I just made it all up. And there's no theme even. The theme is Cameron gets paid.
Yeah, I agree. And the idea of the author's advance is okay, but maybe it's important to have that carrot for the creatives too, as a one myself.
Yeah, I would just worry, like, the more I spend time working in this environment, the more I appreciate the fact that Monty Python would occasionally end sketches by just having the cops show up and arrest everyone.
Yeah.
Because I have no exit strategy.
Nice. Okay, well, let's exit this question and get on to another one. To me, Ian and Cameron have done many unusual / non-gaming streams. For example, 24 hours, no talking, arts and crafts, etc. Is there anything that you'd want to do or wish you'd been a part of? Thank you for asking, mhut333. There's lots of things I'd like to do and wish I'd been a part of. I wish I'd been a part of the first Olympics, the first Olympic Games. I think that would have been a really cool one for me.
Clarify. Olympics or the first Olympic Games?
Well, both, now that you mention it. I did mean the first Olympic Games.
Also, of the modern era or of the classical?
Classical, for sure.
Ooh, yeah.
OG. Yeah.
OG, yeah.
That'd be a memory, right?
Big danglies.
I'd like to be in the room when they're talking. There's someone detracting from the Olympics saying, like, why are we spending any money and resources on this? This is a waste of time. Everyone's time. No one's going to care about this in 2,000 years. See, that'd be funny.
Hilarious.
I would love to be on an LRR cooking stream, though, to try to re-rail. I like the idea of cooking streams, and that's something I kind of would like to dip my toes into. A lot of some of my favorite Magic streamers are sort of like slowly getting in there, probably mostly because of those darn sponsorship ads that keep flooding our inbox. But honestly, I like cooking content. I think it's fun to watch and can be funny. So yeah, there's one. But yeah, I don't know, just any of these streams that kind of break the norm a little bit, and you two are sort of well known for coming up with them, and I've even been in the room when some of them are being born. Yeah, exactly. Like if I had that Saturday off, I would have been into doing egg drop.
Absolutely. Everyone should be involved in egg drop.
Okay, well maybe an egg drop 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'll be around for that one. Yeah. Is there like a personal favorite from either of you? This is a side question. It's time for Ask Tangents. Of the weird streams you've done, do you have a favorite? Oh gosh, that's the next question.
Well,
it's almost as though the seed of this question was planted in my mind back when I looked at it originally, 10 minutes before the stream started. Ian and Cameron, what's your favorite type of unusual stream?
I honestly really liked a stream I did with Alex like 3 or 4 years ago now, which was just show and tell. We did a stream where Alex brought in a model kit that he had made. I think it was a Sturm Tiger. And I brought in my bag that I carry with me everywhere. And I did like an EDC breakdown of things that I carry. And it was just like it was, I mean, the pretense was it was a show and tell stream. But really, it was just kind of an excuse to have a conversation with people about, the things that we find interesting. And there was no real, expectation beyond that or performance beyond that. And I like those ones where you are, I don't know, I guess just having a conversation. A talk show, I guess, is what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah. No, that's okay. It's like you need the tiniest bit of direction or tiniest bit of goal orientation to let yourself free to have a talk show, right?
explore ideas and to actually, and as you say, converse with people.
Because otherwise I don't talk to people. I find them obscure and terrifying.
This is a problem I also find I have myself when I'm not in a performance capacity, which is why I really enjoy doing the Le Mans races, because that is, not only is that an endurance of 24 hours of being awake and playing a video game, and a demanding video game in the sense that it's actually driving, but it is that it's a conversation with myself essentially for 24 hours. And I surprise myself at the number of thoughts I have and can communicate over 24 hours.
Yeah, I honestly miss doing 24-hour streams, but I've floated the idea of going back and doing one, and usually get told, no, they're wildly unhealthy.
That seems like something that the Twitch community kind of figured out after half a decade or whatever.
Yeah, but I kind of liked doing them. I don't know how long I would be able to maintain one anymore, but it could be kind of an interesting exercise, I think.
Ben Albert tried to eat 100 nuggies and he stopped at 48. So if you could even just get a 12-hour and 1 minute stream on, that hold that one over his head.
Maybe I could go back and push forward. A few months ago, maybe a year ago, I did a fundraiser stream where I played Elden Ring, raising money for abortion access in the United States. I forget how long that one went, but I want to say I was stuck on one of the early bosses for a good 6 or 7 hours. Oof. And I kept at it until the game crashed, at which point I declared victory.
Yeah.
Something died.
Yeah, exactly. Things moved forward.
I defeated the game.
That's awesome. And do you have a favorite weird story? Sorry, you just told me Lermont.
Yeah, Lermont's would definitely
Yeah.
be the one. But I just like acting outside of the normal parameters of the medium. You know, that's why I enjoy Tinker Tailor. It's why I enjoy the Lermonts. It's why I enjoy the Cameron Christmas. These things that you don't see anywhere else, and certainly aren't seeing on the medium.
Yeah, I like A Cameron and Ian Christmas is fascinating, not just because it's a kind of like very deliberate, quiet space in an otherwise extremely hectic season that is almost like brutally hostile to the idea of peace and quiet, but it's interesting to me how uncomfortable it makes some people.
Yes.
And
Most of us have only been willing to put up with 4 minutes and 33 seconds of Cameron and Ian Christmas.
but yeah, like I don't know, anything that discomforts people in a kind of like not overtly hostile way, I think is kind of interesting.
In an eye-opening manner.
Yeah.
And making yourself aware of yourself.
Yeah. It's like there was that job posting that went out a couple of weeks ago for by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans
Yes.
for an
see
assistant
this.
lighthouse keeper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're hiring assistant lighthouse keepers. And in the Reddit thread discussing it, or one of the Reddit threads I found discussing it, there were a couple of people who had done this. And one of them said, the first person you meet when you're keeping a lighthouse is yourself.
What a good phrase.
Yeah. And I kind of took that to heart because like, oh, I've had that experience and I survived it mostly intact. So, you know, I feel qualified for this.
Hey.
Please continue doing comedy with us. I'll really miss you if you go off and be a lighthouse keeper full time.
I've got the sweater already, though. I've got like this wonderful chunky knit sweater.
I think you'd fit the role, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe as a retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
End game lighthouse.
Yeah, I'll learn how to cook lobster.
Okay. While nice to avoid when possible, sometimes you got to pay for things out of pocket. What are some of the memorable things you've expensed for LRR? Asks Shoredash.
That's Jordash.
I've got nothing here. I'm pretty new kid on the block. James once let me have the company card to go buy myself a shawarma.
I actually already still have a pack of receipts I need to submit from things
Oh,
from
nice.
the past few months. But let's see, what have we got on that list there? We've got dry ice is definitely in there. 2 kilograms of peach gummies. But the best one is still the time I was at Costco, one of my first shopping trips with the Mini. For those who don't know, I drive a old school Austin Mini, so a very tiny car. And walking through the Costco, and I see this giant wine glass.
Oh,
For
right. That
twen-
was
Right.
you.
Yeah. And get on the work Slack and, hey, do we need a giant wine glass? Can I expense it? And the answer was yes. Then came the effort of putting it in the car, which almost didn't happen. But now we have a giant wine glass.
Did you have to take it out of a box or something to get it into the Mini? Or
It went in one door and then slightly out the other door and then rotated into position on the passenger seat. It was quite a bit of spinning.
you had to use like the piano mover technique? This wine glass is like, it's as tall as like we're sitting here.
You've probably seen it if you've seen our videos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
gigantic.
It's slowly filling with spin down life counters.
That was my original idea for it too. Yeah, it was to give us something to eventually have this huge spin down full of dice,
Yeah.
and that's taking longer than I expected it to.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Volume
yeah.
is confusing.
And also, spin downs don't pack perfectly.
Cameron, have you also had to go shopping for weird stuff?
I am trying to think. I generally try to avoid those kinds of responsibilities because they freak me out. I don't think I've ever really taken the company card for anything really unsupervised. I've been given the company Twitter account, and I made a mistake with it because if you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm partial to to posting weird stuff, and I forgot which account I was logged into.
You and me both, buddy.
Yeah. At which point, like, I started getting a bunch of replies on my phone about, like, Cameron, you're logged into the work account. And it was just like a screenshot of, like, I think I was reading a book and came across a passage and was like, LOL.
I think I made some sort of a Lupin whiskey joke.
Hey, somebody's got a tweet.
I'm generating engagement.
Yeah.
I'm deleting posts.
Okay, so for that last question, we haven't all had the company credit card enough to spend weird amounts on gummies or wine glasses, but those are notable. But for Cameron and I, not wasting the company's money on things that are totally frivolous and will bear no use to us whatsoever, I #blame James. What's our next question, Paul? Zen Zephyr asks, do you have any book recommendations that you've enjoyed recently?
Oh boy, oh boy.
All right, take us away.
Well, I had to write them down because I'm really bad at remembering things. But here's the trio of books that I enjoyed most from the last year. And I think this might be the Ian Horner Depression speed run. We're going to start off with The Dawn of Everything, A New History of Humanity from David Graeber and David Wengrow, which is a fascinating look at the parts of history that we've just completely gotten wrong by only looking at the victor's side of things. If you want to go back and look at what Aboriginal life in North America was like, and the original meetings of the two peoples, and the dialectics that they actually had with each other at the time, like there were a number of North American intellectuals who went back to Europe and debated the masters there. And it turns out that, we have a really weird way of looking things as Westerners, which leads me to Choke Point Capitalism by Cory Doctorow and Rebecca Giblin, which will give you a great look into how we have messed things up further in society to the point where now everything is completely broken and the free markets that we thought we had no longer are. And how do we fix it all? Well, then we just have to come back to fully automated luxury communism from Aaron Basti, which is one of my favorite books of all time. Just a really different way of looking at things, different systems of economies and societies. And it really lays out the case very well that things want to be free. We want to have an end to scarcity, and we have set up so many systems to avoid ending scarcity that everything is moving towards a collapse. So yeah, fun times.
I just watched TikToks, but I was like kind of on, the people who make the TikToks that I watch were reading some of those books, I think. So I was like aware of some of the ideas you were dropping. Cameron, you read, right?
Yeah. I mean, I actually had this brainwave a couple of weeks ago where I remember, you know those posts where people are like, if you used to read 400-page cinder blocks when you were 8 or 9 years old and now can't quite get through an entire tweet without needing to rest, maybe you need a diagnosis in something. And then I went back and looked at the kind of books I was reading when I was 8 or 9 and realized that the printing was roughly the size of a block of Duplo.
Okay.
And yeah, I was just like, well, maybe it's not so bad that I haven't been able to read as much because, I'm comparing myself to someone who is reading somewhat less sophisticated material. But recently, or in the last year, I guess my favorite new book would be Gretchen Felker Martin's Manhunt, which is a zombie apocalypse story where the infection turns anyone whose body produces a certain volume or a certain amount of testosterone into zombies. And so it is about a group of trans people trying to navigate that apocalypse. And it's really good. It's gory and gross and horrifying. It's a very effective horror novel. It's funny, and the writing is like, moves along at a good pace and has a lot of good language in it. I've also really been enjoying Cormac McCarthy recently. I kind of wanted to go back and reread a bunch of Cormac McCarthy, so I read The Road and No Country for Old Men, and I'm going through Blood Meridian again. These are all novels with a lot of like content warnings. Like Cormac McCarthy specifically deals with, a lot of like death and bad people doing bad things to one another, and to like, the viewer discretion is advised, I think. But man, Blood Meridian is so good. It's so good. If you can, if you don't mind the content, I recommend it.
Nice. Yep. No, I don't read books.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
any good menus?
Yeah. Oh man, there's a new vegan restaurant in town.
Wait, no, really?
Yeah.
Where?
It's like near my, like in the hood, like Hillside and Blanchard.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Not too far. You could walk there. I have read a book before. I'm not going to spoil which one it was.
When you get a certain amount of responsibilities, your ability to time based on and just desire to read a book can go down.
Yeah, we all know those video games aren't going to play themselves.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. I've got dailies to do,
Yeah.
right? And weeklies.
Don't forget about those monthlies. Okay. Pinball Witch asks, what's something cool that's happened this year for you, or something cool you're looking forward to this year? Actually, this is funny, so I want to take this one. This is a good piggyback off of the last question. My daughter is learning how to read, and she just has like gotten to the point where she can like read through her first little easy reader first chapter book, and that is like the coolest thing that's happened to me this year. It's not something I can try and take credit for or say that it's entirely happening to me, but it is happening near me, and I'm involved with it. Like I've helped. So yeah, that's really fantastic and nice, and like it was a cool thing. So I'm looking forward to her. I guess finding way more interesting things to think about and read than anything that comes out of my face, and slowly drift further and further apart from me until I just hope that she'll return my calls. Yeah, that's childhood, right?
I
In a
should
nutshell.
text my mother.
There you go. Yeah, your parents can't wait to hear from you. Probably. I don't know your particular situation, but probably. Yeah. Other cool things. Anyone have a cool thing?
Well, I mean, I've started seeing someone that I quite like a lot.
Whoop whoop.
Yeah, and she will be able to spend more time here soon.
That's rad.
Yeah,
Nice.
that makes me happy.
All right. Makes me happy too.
I would guess, by extension, she'd be able to spend more time with you here.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I can't peer inside her head, but the affection seems to be returned, so
Nice.
that's good enough for me.
Keep hitting that bell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What else? There's some new Warhammer models coming out that seem pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm on the edge of my seat for the Leagues of Votan for Kill Team.
Space dwarfs.
Actually, I've got one here if you don't mind. I'm finally being recognized at work, not in a way where I'm going to get a card or a raise or anything like that. But what it is I'm recognized for my skills in that we're doing some video work finally there.
Oh.
And a lot of the work I've done here has been able to pay off in the sense of, oh yeah, you are qualified for this. So it's an expansion of skills, an expansion of, and an expansion into what I want to be doing more of anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's great.
really happy.
But I hope you get that raise too.
Oh yeah, well I mean it's a union job, so we just got
I see.
to beat our union into submission first, and then in 3 years' time we'll be okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Solidarity.
some of the lure boys just posting W's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dadding out of control over here. Next week, they're going to learn how to drive. Yeah. What's the most recent or otherwise most memorable internet rabbit hole you've fallen into? Asks Auntie Muffin. Okay, any recent rabbit holes?
I flagged this one, and I had something in mind at the time, and then I completely blanked on it.
That's okay. Rabbits go into holes.
Yeah, possibly because I fell into an internet rabbit hole
Yeah.
in another tab while
know,
I
I
was
kinda-
browsing the Google Doc.
We were talking about the, capitalism tearing everything apart recently, and I sort of I didn't exactly fall into it, but just like, week after week, I'm learning that it's just purely out of a few people's greed that we don't have like sweet rail transit all over North America. Like, and I didn't really like know that like a lot of time ago. Sort of like had the idea introduced maybe 10 years ago. I watched Who Killed the Electric Car, which is the name of a documentary that was okay. And they were like, well, there's a few things, but one of them is just oil barons, like the modern day oil barons or whatever, and the old ones, like the history of oil baronry or whatever. Baroness. Anyways, so yeah, that's just something I've been thinking about, and every time like another piece of the like we should have trains puzzle comes across my desk, I'm just I just like get so mad. And yeah, I recently drove. My in-laws are in Texas, so for Christmas this time we drove. Normally we fly, but we like did the big road trip with the family from Victoria all the way down to Houston and back
with 3 children.
Well, yeah, with my dog and my 2 kids and me and my partner. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got 3 kids basically. One of them is made of claws, but and fur, but I had to take care of her too. Yeah, so that was a long and at parts beautiful drive, and it was kind of cool getting to use my car for like the thing that cars are best for in my mind, you know, actually being turned on rather than being parked for like 97% of their life or whatever.
Right.
So that was cool, but the whole time it's just like, man, there's so many people driving all the time in all the cities we came to, like constantly, and just like the feasibility of this drive versus like the, you know, there's like 10 different major highways we could have chosen from or whatever, to like all these different junctions. And like, you know, we took whatever Google Maps or Waze or whatever told us was the fastest route. But, you know, like to try to do it on today's available train routes or train lines or whatever, like the passenger trains that are going on the rails that are between here and there is like a bit daunting and like requires some complex math and like, you know, switching between one company and the next or whatever, whereas like it'd be so cool if we just had trains all over this. Yeah, exactly. That it should be the like cheaper, you know, simpler, you know, definitely feasible option.
Yeah, full agree.
Yeah.
Full agree.
And like, and even more so, it's important for just inside the cities commuting, right? Like we'd be doing so much for the environment if we were just like getting on a train every day as opposed to like getting into our cars and driving for an hour.
I fully support a ramped up public transit that is completely free for use.
Yeah.
It just makes so much sense to just be able to walk onto a bus that comes by every 15 minutes on the 15-minute.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what are we even doing here?
Well, we're not moving right now, so we're not currently in this second contributing to the transportation crisis.
True. But there are definitely times where you just look at the condition of things and think, what? Why?
Yep.
Why? Why like this? And usually the answer is it made someone some money once and will probably do so again as long as you prevent anyone from doing anything about it.
My least favorite of the problems out there are the ones that are caused by the people. The government is not allowed to solve this situation because to do so would be an overstep into the private sector. And someone someday might make money from doing this. But if the government does it, well, I mean, that's not allowed.
No.
Yeah. That's very frustrating.
So the rabbit hole I got on was talking about... I've been reading a lot about Yoshiyuki Tomino, and it was a rabbit hole just about a possible sequel to Gundam Zeta, or sorry, to Gundam Double Zeta, which would have come out instead of Char's Counterattack, bringing Judo back from the Jupiter sector with possibly new mobile. So it's a very rich idea of a sequel that never happened, but there was some planning done for, and I'm starting to find that sort of that sort of pre-production information just fascinating.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah, yes, like that.
I've forgotten the rabbit holes that I've fallen into recently because it forms such a large part of my daily existence that I no longer know when I've fallen into a rabbit hole. You know, you'll be just like browsing through I don't know, the Wikipedia entries for various British warships. and being like, oh, okay, now I get the difference between a light cruiser and a heavy cruiser and like what the doctrinal use is between the two. That's cool. Throw that away
Yep.
so I can re-experience that. Um,
I also look forward to 2 seconds after we sign off from this podcast for you to remember with absolute clarity what the rabbit hole was you had fallen into.
Yeah, and
'Cause
then I'll
that's
write
how
it.
human brains work.
Yeah, and then I'll write it down so that when we record this podcast, I'll have it accessible to me. Because I will also immediately forget that I've done this.
Perfect. Paul, do we have any more questions? Do you have any questions for us? Too bad, Paul. Stop making silly faces at me. I'm trying to be professional over here. What sort of activity would you like to do the most in a well-appointed library, sitting in a comfy wingback chair in front of a crackling fireplace? Asked W. McDuff. And yeah, I better take this one with play Switch games.
Yeah, I was gonna go with crank one out, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to rip ass. Just fart all over that chair.
right into the fireplace.
Yeah, toss a number 3 into the fireplace.
Maybe like play the lute. I like that idea. Or the dulcimer. Say you've got like a dulcimer on your lap.
Yeah.
That could be like a really sort of idealized kind of like D&D picture of me that I would enjoy. Something like that, you know? Just looting with like one leg over a big wingback armchair.
Yeah, what's the rumors cover style?
Yes, that's
Yes,
what I'm thinking.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
got a
yeah.
giant bowl of a string instrument, and like I'm playing the thing, but there's a glass of wine nearby. Yeah, I could be into that. That's my answer.
I mean, the real answer, what's probably going to be, or what would have happened up until I think 3 weeks ago when social media went away, would have been me sitting in this wingback chair scrolling through social media.
I mean, I think I would like to just stare at a fire for a while.
Yeah.
I was thinking today, I don't remember the last time that I've really enjoyed a bonfire with friends, or, you know, just been able to sit and look at this chemical process taking place.
And feel the heat on your face as you're doing so. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would like to think that in this, you know, very luxurious space that I've been invited into, that I would just be able to like sit and enjoy it and be mindful and exist in that space. And then I would start pulling books off the shelf and trying to arrange them by color. Because I enjoy also how that seems to drive a certain kind of person into a rage. And I'm nothing if not contrarian to people I find momentarily irritating.
Well, I mean, color's good, but the best way to arrange them all by color is just to turn them backwards so that the paper is pointing out towards you, so then they can all be the same. That's the best looking bookshelf, right? The one with just the paper facing towards you.
Yeah.
It's good for sound absorption too.
Tasty.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about all of our subscribers, Paul.
Yeah.
My bad.
Regrets.
Deborah Johnson Cortese asks, 3 of my favorite things to watch Lur play are Drink More Glurp, Gang Beasts, and Jackbox games. If you were asked to create a new level for Glurp, a new setting for Gang Beasts, or a new game for Jackbox, what would you create? Okay, who took on this homework assignment?
I was thinking for Gang Beasts, a fun level would be a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With like working microphones, like would we have to have some kind of adaptive thing where like we stream sing? I guess we just do that when we're streaming already. But yeah, okay. You have to sing when you're at the mic, and then you get more power or something, or you get up faster.
I mean, I assume that if you get thrown onto stage, your gang beast has to sing, and then they just die of grief and shame, right? So the entire, like, it would be like the
Like the
rail,
lava or the rail,
yeah, the rail in the subway, or the meat grinder in the meat
Yeah.
right.
level.
But it's the karaoke bar. You're
Yes,
just
the
done.
yeah.
If you land exactly in that one spot on stage, you get thrown like right. If your face hits the mic,
Yep.
then you're done.
You did die of
Yeah,
shame.
yeah, you have to sing. I don't know. What would somebody just absolutely get demolished by at karaoke?
Well, like just the big belting hits are
Or-
often hard. Like,
Yeah.
Like Don't Stop Believing is often banned.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I would
It's
prefer
long.
it if you stopped believing.
Both of the last 2 times I went to karaoke, and weirdly, I've done karaoke twice this month.
Mm-hmm.
We did Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's just like, it's hard not to butcher this tune.
Yeah. Well, like many people calamitously misjudge what their vocal register is.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people also are completely
Present
unaware of
company, yeah.
how difficult it is to sing a metal song. Like
Right.
notoriously, is it Disturbed? Ooh,
Right.
Right. And like people take that on and think they're going to do it. And you can hear after the second they've realized I'm going to be on this stage for the rest of my life. And they try to give up and cannot.
This will never end.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm sorry. Can I? No.
Take two?
No, you're
Is
up
there
there
a cancel button on the?
Yeah. Although I do remember once I was studying in the student union building at UVEC, just outside of the student pub, and they were having a karaoke night. And my friend and I were kind of like, it was late at night, we were studying before an exam, and we heard the opening bars of Portishead's Wandering Star, and we kind of looked at each other in, with dread. And this girl starts singing and she's nailing it.
Nice.
And we abandon our books to run into the pub to watch her. Because we both love Portishead, as it turns out.
When people crush it at karaoke, it's
Yeah.
kind of inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, oh wait, what?
Yeah.
What did I do to deserve this free, awesome performance? You know?
I will never forgive myself for missing out on karaoke at XOXO Festival when Lizzo
What?
crashed the karaoke party.
Oh, yeah, that hurts.
Yeah,
I also,
wow.
for your sake, wished you hadn't found out that happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. New Jackbox games. That's real hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're very clever. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
like I try to avoid the Jackbox streams because I occasionally, when I have been on Jackbox, I've done okay, but that's an average.
Oh, do you not enjoy the Jackbox games where you get completely pummeled or whatever?
Well, there are a lot of ones where I'm like, I got nothing for this. And in a lot of situations in my day-to-day life, that's an okay answer, right? It's like, oh, if you got nothing for this, don't worry, your participation is not mandatory. In Jackbox, it is.
Right. Yeah, I possess no artistic talent with like a pen or stylus or whatever whatsoever, but my attitude as a performer is like confident enough that every time I'm just like, okay, here's my champed up character. It's funny. Laugh now. Good job.
I'm just trying to avoid. I just abolished the sense of shame that I have when
Yeah.
I'm playing Jackbox. And
Right.
throw something out, and hopefully it's good.
Yeah, Ian and I are regulars, I think, and it's like pretty similar attitude. And you got to kind of no fear or shame. You have to purge those. I must not fear. Fear is the little death that kills the Jackbox player.
I don't know, maybe I should sign up for one the next time we do it. I don't know. I was told the key to acting is actually to just like stop caring about looking foolish, right?
Right.
Because we often are told that or think of actors as being people who are very serious and very vain about their appearance. And in truth, it's like you can only act if you've completely given up any sense of ego about looking stupid.
Right. Yeah, I think you need to do the best. You just try and like get completely outside of yourself, like including out of your own head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't.
To speak specifically to Jackbox, one of the things I like most about those particular streams is that they're, for me, the most like just hanging out with and trying to make my friends laugh.
Yeah.
And so having different people on there gives me different targets to be able to make different
Right,
jokes.
right. Yeah. I guess you can play to the judge a certain amount.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
That said, if Jackbox.com wants to call me up and offer me big bucks for the rights to the concept of the late night dub fight, I'd be open to talk.
Okay. All right. There you go. You got an answer. I was just going to say, like, the idea of coming up with an answer for askLRR that would in any way rival Split the Room is just seems totally ludicrous to me. I think several of the Jackbox games are actually just like very, very ingenious, even though they're obviously meant to be like silly and come off as not a big deal. Yeah. Karen Amaro asks, if you were given an unlimited amount of funding for any type of post-secondary education in any topic or field of your choice, what would that topic or field be, and how long would it be before we'd see you again?
Boy.
You want to take this one first?
Sure. Ian's going back to design school.
Nice.
Probably never coming back again.
Design school sounds fun.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you're in design school and you don't have to actually build anything that's practical or buildable.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's either that or pivot into materials science, which has always been an interest of mine because I love just mashing things together and seeing A, what happens, and then B, what is this useful for?
Help me out here, and anyone who is as dumb as I am. What's materials science? Does that mean like physics or?
It's multidisciplinary.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
sorry.
material science is, as Ian said, it's a multidisciplinary science that looks at, it's frequently called solid state physics because physicists get very uncomfortable whenever they realize they're actually doing chemistry, and they need to call it physics in order to not feel embarrassed by dealing with a lesser science. So in material science, you were looking at the design and behavior of materials. Matter. Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like chemistry.
Kind of. If you were really, really into concrete or polymers or composites of various other things, it's fascinating.
I know from books I've read
Yeah.
that Peppa Pig's dad is really into concrete.
Like if you can imagine yourself getting deeply into a debate around what is a metal, because as it turns out, you remember when you were in high school and you got that list of things that are are characteristics of metal,
Sure.
right? Like shiny,
Right.
Ductile.
Some
ductile,
sort of malleable or whatever.
yeah,
right?
malleable, ductile,
Conductive.
Conductive. Right.
You can come up with metals that are not any of those things.
Oh, good.
Except for conductive, which is what the usual definition, what the new definition of a metal is that it has a conductivity above a certain threshold.
Okay.
Because like ductile and malleable, how about mercury? How about a molten metal? Is if you melt iron, is it still metal?
What happens if we just push hydrogen enough that it starts conducting?
Yeah.
No, it's definitely soup.
Yeah. I mean, material science is fascinating. I did a little bit of it in my undergrad, and yeah, it's just looking at like the Brillouin zones of crystal behavior and like the momentum vectors of light inside a crystal is it's good. It's so good.
With such practical applications too.
Yeah.
Is that a serious one or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
You want to know how we keep getting smartphones thinner and thinner?
Right? Is it
Is
solid
research.
state physics or whatever? Yeah.
Research into optics and finding a way to make those lenses smaller or sideways.
I need to find out because your first answer was design school, where you didn't want to have to be able to be practically useful at any point. And something you said earlier made me think of like academia, about how it's like, you know, if you, or right, it was the question about if you had an unlimited budget for an artistic pursuit, what would happen? And it was like, well, I would do absolutely nothing. And it's like, yeah, you know, in the academic world a little bit, you get that, you know, the comfortable kind of nest environment where you just continuing to try things and showing up is often good enough, right? Until the money runs out.
Also, I should probably correct that when I said like it's frequently called solid state physics, that's not exactly true. And I'm sure there's probably comments already in the YouTube. I believe the contemporary name for the field is condensed matter physics, because solid state physics excludes liquid and liquid behavior.
If you're not already correcting Cameron about what material science is supposed to be called, let us know that you didn't know what it was called either.
Yeah.
You have to do one of the two.
I also totally bogarted that from Ian and took it over. So sorry.
No, I'm quite fine if you've got a different answer.
Oh, yeah. If I were to go back to do work in academics, I have a couple of interests. One of them, again, one of them is in computational chemistry, which I talk quite a lot about, because I just find theory interesting, and I really enjoyed doing theoretical chemistry. I would love to go back and complete my do my PhD in my research subject, because like what I thought was really fascinating was that in computational chemistry, we work on nanosecond timescales, right? If you're looking at modeling a chemical reaction, usually that takes place quite quickly. So simulations are very, very good at making reasonable guesses at what the behavior will be of a system on a short time scale. I would love to try to figure out some way of making that work on very long time scales, which is, something where they're very bad at right now. Because, I enjoy thinking about deep time in a lot of ways, right? Like designing containment systems for nuclear waste. Those need to be viable on possibly geologic timescales.
Right.
But, how do you design a barrel that's going to hold radioactive material for that long?
And everything it has to interact with, and everything that's interacting with the other thing. Yeah, there's on a long time scale. There's so much going on.
Yeah,
the pyramids are earthquake proof.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of burying people, we could be burying some nuclear waste, right?
Possibly.
Egypt, call us. Ideas, man.
The other thing, my other academic interest was, again, in theory, but it was an entirely different branch of knowledge, which was in literary theory, because I have 2 degrees. One is in English, one is in chemistry. And literary theory deals a lot with how do we make meaning out of text? Because it's kind of weird that 2 people can look at what is objectively the same text and take different meanings away from it, right? That's strange. You would think that you would look at the same text and generate the same understanding of it, but no, it's because people are different. So what's really going on here? And that's a question that had a lot of interesting thoughts generating around it. And then cultural theory kind of hit 9/11 and fell over, but without generating any kind of coherent response to what was, in essence, a postmodern reaction to an enormous cultural trauma, and the reaction of empire to that. And I was like, wow, cultural theory is cultural or literary theory is really well equipped to deal with this, because we deal with narratives, and it was just crickets. Right. But we live in a world that is dominated by narratives and myth making, and there's no one examining it right now, and it can't be something that we leave for later generations to kind of excavate. It needs to be something that we engage with actively and with effective tools, because a lot of the discourse that occurs online is so bad. It's so achingly bad. It's so bad. It makes me want to crawl under a rock and go to sleep. And it shouldn't be, right? It should, we have all we have the internet to talk about things, and it's just
we need spaces to talk about these. We need spaces for this sort of discussion to happen. But I find that fascinating too, that you bring up that no one's looking into this, especially at a time when popular culture is just losing its mind over stories and the power of storytelling, and how most of what is popular cultural medium is about the act of storytelling explicitly.
Yeah, and now we're running into AI art, and all of those words are wrong.
Yep.
None of those words are accurate in any way, because it's procedurally generated capital C content. This, we I think are a little too embarrassed or self-conscious to call ourselves artists, but it is the term that probably applies to us.
I've been banging this drum for years.
Yeah.
Calling it content is what I make in the morning after I take my first coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
2
Content.
coffees for me.
Yeah. I need a pot of coffee in the morning to get anything moving.
You thought we were arranged by order of beards? Nope. It's a different body part that starts with a B.
But I wholly do believe that if you make something, you should take pride in that thing, and you take pride in that thing that you make, then call yourself what you are. You are a person who makes those things.
Yes.
Those things are different things, require different types of people to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like we're a few years out, or maybe a year out from, if you let YouTube run on your second monitor, you're just going to have procedurally generated like second monitor filler occurring once your video is over. Or, you know, if you are on free Spotify and the song you were allowed to listen to ends, it'll probably just, the algorithm will just start making stuff for you.
I forget who was talking about this, but it was all of those lo-fi beats channels will probably be, by the end of the year, completely generated.
Yeah.
And they'll probably sound like something that you like because they can take that information into account. But by God, it's not.
Yeah, they're going to be able to interpolate whatever your top X whatever is. And the problem with that is that, like,
There's only one problem. Wait for it.
well, one of them, like, a lot of people enjoy that, right? I mean,
Well, I do think there's good parts about it, but sorry, go on.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to derail you.
it's going to eat the low effort shit alive, right? Like things like Stranger Things, which is just kind of like a pile of references to things that you recognize, so you can be like, oh, hey, this is like the thing I saw when I was 9 that freaked me out a bit. That's so cool. It makes me feel good. Those are just going to be like, I don't know how long or how far away that it is, but those are all going to be like.
I am not surprised that BuzzFeed is one of the companies that is absolutely looking into AI generated. Well, they've already started.
Yeah.
And that's perfect for them. List 10 reasons why X.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Here's your BuzzFeed quiz that is going to put you into, like, you know, it's going to generate whatever your new Myers-Briggs thing is, or whatever your birth chart is.
Which Garfield character are you?
Yeah.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe AI filling the role of extremely low effort content is fine, but that's mostly what people watch, right? Like,
How do you do a deep reading of AI produced text or video?
well, I mean, what's terrifying to me is that when a human produces something and it treads close to what a procedurally generated or an algorithm has generated, you're going to get sued.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I've already read multiple accounts of students who have had to speak with their professors because their professors have run their essay through an AI detector system,
Right.
and it has been close enough to.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, in a vacuum, that could be interesting, right? Because a rational society would react to that by maybe evaluating how we teach students and what we expect students to do in order to learn. Maybe writing a 20-page paper is not the best way of evaluating what a student has absorbed, or writing an exam is not. But you know, it's just going to be exams from now on, because profs will look at those and say, "Oh, it's impossible for someone to cheat on this with an AI."
Especially with the surveillance software they make you install.
Yeah. Like all of this is really interesting. I think it says interesting things about us. But in order for it to not just be interesting, we need people who are capable of studying it, and for it to not be eating us alive while it's occurring, right? Like, may you live in interesting times is a well-known curse. But that doesn't make it not interesting, right? Like, there's Foucault sends the word, right? I'm not saying everything is bad. I'm saying everything is dangerous. And we have a responsibility to examine it and think about it.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we had that. If we had that breathing space.
That luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that interest, that ability, and that time and effort.
Yeah. And like, I don't think ChatGPT is going to write anything as interesting or as funny as the things that we have worked on in this room. But then again, maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it just needs to get like 60% of the way there, and then I'll just get to go and be homeless about it.
I mean, as you were saying, I also don't think that ChatGPT will ever write anything as interesting or funny as we do.
Mm-hmm.
Will they write something that is more profitable then? I think the chances of that are actually fairly high.
Yeah.
And that's the upsetting part.
I've been enjoying this job, so I would go back and do 1 or 2 years of film school or acting school.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would want to do more time than that. And honestly, I see most of my education in the future just kind of happening between the breaks, the weekends and the evenings, or just on the job.
And as this question actually pointed out, unlimited time and money, I would probably, instead of, feeling a lot of the publisher perish pressure of academia, be able to dedicate my time to more mentorship and instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, pay it forward.
Wow.
Speaking of paying for things, thanks so much to our YouTube members for submitting these questions today and their continued financial support. And thanks, as always, to everyone helping us out at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. They keep the lights on in here and help us have food in our bellies and help us, pay for our internet subscriptions so we can go on ChatGPT and write down or, copy all of the things we've said today.
We could do it without you, but it's very unlikely.
Exactly. I've been Nelson, joined by Ian.
Hello.
And Cameron.
Huh?
Paul's been on tech. And Heather probably does something to do with this. She does. I'm getting a nod that Heather does lots of
I
things.
think you'll find it's probably produced by, but
Produces
yeah.
this show.
Yeah, Heather's going to get this online. She'll do the top and tail.
Perfect. Thanks, Heather. Okay, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.